Welcome to Family Law Talk. Family Law Talk. Presented by Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm, PC. Stange Law Firm is a multi-state family law firm. Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. We have an interesting topic today. The topic is, what are introductory visits? And this episode today is based on an article on our blog, familylawheadquarters.com, dated November 20th, 2025. And the title of that article is An Explanation of Introductory Visits. So as a follow-up to the episode today, go on over to familylawheadquarters.com and read this article for more information on this topic. But let's go ahead and jump on in. Introductory visits can be a part of some child custody cases. Lots of individuals have never heard the concept of introductory visits. Sometimes introductory visits can be called therapeutic visits, would be another term that can oftentimes be used for them. But the reality is, in some child custody cases, now this could be a divorce, could be a paternity case, could be a motion to modify. I mean, the possibilities are a little bit broad, but it's a child custody case, and versus just jumping to a parenting plan, which is the final parenting plan. In some cases, the parenting plan might have introductory visits in them. And in some cases, the introductory visits might be part of an interim order while the case is still pending, and it's before there's a final resolution on the case itself, okay? And so look, in some cases, maybe a parent has been away from the children's lives for a period of time, okay? It could be that they were away altogether. It could be that they were just away for the most part. Sometimes the absence might not even be voluntary, okay? It could be a situation where one parent had the child or the children and they were keeping the children away from the other parent. Certainly in some cases it could be more voluntary as well, where maybe one parent was just away. You know, they could have been away traveling. They could be away in the military service. They could simply be out of state, out of country. I mean, the possibilities are really quite endless, but take these cases where the parent who's been away, again, it could be voluntary, it might not be voluntary at all. They want to be back in the lives of their children or their child, right? So what can happen in a lot of cases is these introductory visits get set up. And again, these could be called therapeutic visits as well. So they're introductory therapeutic visits where the children or the child is being slowly reintroduced to the parent, okay? And this can look different based on the facts of the case. Okay. In some cases, the introductory visits could be relatively quick. It could be relatively fast. It could be a situation where maybe the parent wasn't away that long. But in some cases, maybe it was a long time. In some cases, maybe the child is an infant or a baby or a toddler, and they've never really had regular contact with one of their parents. So what could happen in some of these cases, and again, this is just sort of a general scenario, but this could look different in different cases for sure. And certainly based on how well adjusted the children or the child is and whether or not they have special needs or don't have special needs, this could make a big difference in terms of how this looks as well. But in theory, or just to give you sort of a snapshot of what could happen in a case with introductory visits, maybe they start out being supervised for maybe an hour or two, okay? And maybe they're supervised at the courthouse by a court supervisor. Maybe it's a social worker who does this. Maybe it's the other parent or a relative or a trusted friend or family member. In some cases, there could even be paid supervisors out there. In a lot of jurisdictions, there's individuals who maybe used to work for protective services or family services, or maybe they're social workers, and they get paid to supervise visits, okay? So let's say for a period of time, the visits are supervised. And then after several or many supervised visits, and maybe this progresses to unsupervised visits for a period of several hours, let's say, okay? And maybe this goes on for a period of time, and again, the length of time can vary. And then let's say this then later jumps to all-day visits from like maybe 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., so longer visits, okay? So let's say then these go on for a long period of time, and they're going pretty well. Then maybe this shifts to overnight visits after a period of time. And again, it could be overnights for one night. It could then turn into overnights for the weekend. And then if these continue to go well or over a period of time, then maybe you start to get to a place where you get to the final parenting plan, where maybe it's a situation where it's just regular unsupervised visits. And this could look a lot of different ways, from every other weekend type schedules to 50-50 cussy schedule or something like that. And again, these are introductory visits. They're taking place over a period of time. And the idea behind this is, let's get the child or the children familiar or re-familiarized with their parent, and let's get the parent re-familiarized or familiarized with their child, and let's let them develop this relationship in this bond, and then that way it's not a situation where the child or the children are just tossed to the other parent who hasn't had a lot of interaction and time with their child or their children for a period of time, and then it's a situation where maybe things don't go well, okay? So again, these are introductory visits. In a lot of ways, people would call these therapeutic visits, and you say, well, why the term therapeutic visits? What's the deal with the use of that term? Well, again, the idea is that the child or the children and the parent are slowly getting reacclimated, so it's therapeutic, right? They're developing that bond. They're developing a familiarity with each other. They learn, what each other like, what they don't like, how they react to situations, how they don't react to situations, okay? So it's therapeutic, if you will, in terms of slowly building that relationship back together, okay? So these are introductory or therapeutic visits. Now look, in some scenarios, maybe an individual doesn't want the visits to be introductory or therapeutic. Maybe they want the visits to simply go to regular visits that they would deem to be normal visits or what they're ultimately seeking. So maybe they just want overnights right away, or maybe they just want 50-50 right away. Maybe they're frustrated at the idea of introductory visits. And so let's say an individual is frustrated and they don't want introductory visits. They just want the final parenting plan, the final custody schedule, if you will. So what to make of that? Well, look, while these sentiments can make sense, and certainly, a parent, is going to want to spend as much time with their child or children as possible and as quickly as possible. The issue is really this, is in most of these cases, there's a guardian ad litem who's appointed to represent the interests of the children or the child. And if the guardian ad litem, or maybe even the judge, wants these introductory visits, or they want these therapeutic visits, then typically a party really needs to do these, and they really need to cooperate, and they need to understand, if they do these visits and these visits go well, they're going to get where they want to be in most cases. But if they won't do the introductory visits, if it's kind of all or nothing, then that can definitely be really counterproductive. So to the parents out there, if you've been away from your child for a period of time, again, voluntarily, involuntarily, you name it, it's important to be patient. Go into these introductory visits with the proper attitude, the proper long-term perspective, and then understand that ultimately, if these visits go well, a person is going to end up where they want to be in most instances, okay? A retort that some individuals have is, well, what if the visits don't go great? What if they don't go well? Is it possible that I could do these introductory visits and they don't go well, and then I don't end up with a bunch of time with my children or my child? And I think the response to that is, yeah, in theory that's possible. But from my vantage point, that's typically not the case. So long as the parent comes into the visits, they're calm, they're cool, collected, they're patient, they're slowly developing that bond, they're even keeled, right? They're not reactive. They're not trying to force things. They're not trying to push things. They're letting the visits happen. They're letting the relationship slowly build. And things are typically going to be okay. From my vantage point, where these visits can go south is where a parent is impatient. They're pushing things, right? Maybe they're trying to force hugs, force interactions, and maybe the child just doesn't feel comfortable doing at that point in time. And so, forcing things can cause these visits to go bad. But typically, if a parent comes in, they're loving, they're caring, they're patient, they're kind, they're not forcing things, they're allowing things to happen, they're allowing the relationship to build, and they're trusting that everything's going to work out in the end. That's when these visits typically end up going very well. Okay? So again, introductory visits, very common in divorce and family law cases where a parent's been away, either voluntarily or not voluntary. And maybe they were kept away even, and maybe what was done was wrong, okay? But in these kinds of cases, introductory visits, very common. It's something courts and guardian ad litems often like to do. So I wanted to cover this topic because I'm sure it's a situation that a lot of listeners are maybe going through, or maybe they've gone through it in the past, and they can kind of mirror what I'm saying and say, yeah, I've been there, done that, or I know somebody else who's had to go through introductory visits. So I thought this was a very important topic to cover and one we hadn't covered before. All right. So again, as a follow-up to the episode today, going over to familylawheadquarters.com, read the article dated November 20th, 2025. The title of the article is An Explanation of Introductory Visits. So if you go over there and read that, that'll give you more information on this topic. But thanks for tuning in today. Stay tuned to our next episode of Family Law Talk coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Family Law Talk with Kirk Stange. Visit StangeLawFirm.com for more about today's topic or to put Stange Law Firm to work for your family today. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Neither the Supreme Court of Missouri or Illinois reviews or approves certifying organizations or specialist designations. The information you obtained in this podcast is not, nor is it intended to be, legal advice. You should consult an attorney for advice regarding your individual situation. We invite you to contact us and welcome your calls, letters, and electronic mail. Contacting us does not create an attorney-client relationship. Please do not send any confidential information to us until such time as an attorney-client relationship has been established. Past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits. Kirk Stange is responsible for the content. Headquarters, Office 120 South Central Avenue, Suite 450, Clayton, Missouri 63105. Kirk Stange is licensed in Missouri, Illinois, and Kansas.